All right, folks, it's time for a Flare update. I know you guys have been waiting for this one. We've been trying to find you 10 beggars out here in this altcoin space, looking across, providing these coin reviews. If you appreciate what we're doing, make sure you are liking these videos, helping us out by sharing them out far and wide, and let me know in the comments down below which coin you want me to review next. And be careful what you ask for, because I'm not here to be liked, I'm here to be effective, so you're going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm going to tell you how I really feel about your coin in these coin reviews that I'm providing. So please let me know. I'm happy to look at it, but just be careful what you wish for. And I've been wishing for something more from Flare for a while, a project I'm going to be very open about my frustrations with Flare, but we did just get the update on Flare. I wanted to provide it here for you guys today, what they got cooking right now. And I'm also going to provide my list of critiques and problems and things that I want to be able to follow up on with Flare and say, yes, they were able to execute and deliver on some of these things that they've been promising us. So without further ado, let's get into it. I was waiting for the Flare 2.0 update and the update on F assets. We have finally been given it. And so now here we are. Connect, compute, conquer, Flare 2.0 begins. Unified chains with unparalleled cross-chain execution, boosted compute abilities, and enshrined data systems. Really what it comes down to is interoperability and data utility. That's what Flare is focused on. And I asked Grok, what are the three main use cases for Flare? And here's what it told me. Decentralized data access, F assets, which is providing smart contract DeFi capabilities to blockchains and assets like Bitcoin, XRP, and Dogecoin, coins that don't have smart contract functions. That's what F assets was for. And the third and final big use case for Flare is interoperable cross-chain applications. So basically the ability to send transactions and execute across multiple other blockchains. This is what Flare is going to allow. And so they've updated us with this Flare 2.0 rollout. In this video, I'm just going to tell you everybody right now, there's going to be people that are in Flare, working at Flare, who watch this video and say that I missed half of what's taking place in this ecosystem, and you'd be correct. There is a lot going on here, a lot from a technical standpoint too, that I'm still trying to understand, right? I spent nearly 4 or 5 hours in the office today. I've been watching this project for years, and I still have questions about how some of this is going to work, practical use cases for this technology, but I'm going to try to do my best to give you a high-level overview of kind of what's going on in this system, or in this ecosystem, I should say. And then for anybody who's looking to dive in further, I'm going to try to provide some resources down below in the description of this video for you to look at. So let's get started here with basically the origin story of Flare, the tokenomics, and we're going to get you caught up to speed on where we're at right now. But back to the basics. Flare has 100 billion tokens in creation. They've all been created just like XRP, and now it's a matter of distributing these tokens. Originally, there was going to be a massive airdrop to XRP holders. Basically, they came out and they said, if you hold XRP, we're going to take a snapshot and then we're going to airdrop you Flare tokens. Now, the initial distribution of Flare went out. This was back years ago. And basically, Flare went live on mainnet in January of 2023. Now, at some time before that, you were actually able to trade IOUs for Flare on Bitrue and maybe a couple other platforms. But essentially, there was some trading of IOUs of Flare before Flare went live in January of 2023. Now, for the purposes of technical analysis and evaluating what Flare could potentially do price-wise, I completely disregard the Flare IOUs before Flare went live on mainnet in January of 2023. So I'll talk more about price predictions at the end of this episode, but just so you know, I disregard all of that Flare IOU trading before it actually went live in January of 2023. So, Genesis token supply 100 billion, public token distribution 28 billion. Okay, so what happened here is we have 36 months of Flare airdrops was the initial schedule. That has actually changed now. 20 billion Flare incentive pool and ecosystem grants. Now, what happened here, right here, after the initial 15% distribution in January of 2023, entities received the remaining 85% smoothly over 36 months. Now, this is where they changed. In January of 2023, they decided to not follow through with that 85% remaining airdrop to the XRP holders, but they instead decided to then transfer all ongoing airdrops to those who decided to wrap their flare. Now, I spoke out against this at the time, and when I was doing my deep dive research, I was reminded that David Schwartz actually spoke out against this at the time as well. And many people are still upset with the fact that Flare did not give this airdrop. Now, one of the reasons why they didn't, continue with the airdrop as planned was because some of these exchanges were giving them a tough time. Basically, people were holding XRP on these exchanges. Flare wanted to airdrop their tokens to these people, but not all of the exchanges were cooperating. So there are some good reasons why they decided to change up the airdrop, but in my opinion, they should have stuck to it. And I do believe that it was a mistake. And it relates back to one of the issues that I see ongoing here today in 2025, is that it seems like they've kind of left some of the XRP holders left hanging. And I understand, this was a freebie, so, beggars can't be choosers. But I think that leveraging the XRP community was something that they started with, and I think that they should have continued with this. They should not have abandoned the XRP community. And I know I'm going to get pushback. People are going to say that they didn't abandon. But in my opinion, they should have held down this initial promise, or at least tried to execute on this promise to get more Flare into the hands of the XRP holders. One of the other things that I was critical of was the timeline of this distribution. One of the problems that I have listed on my sticky note right here, one of the issues with Flare right now is the token inflation, and how these, airdrops and distribution is going to continue all the way through 2026. And this is a problem because it is just dumping tokens to people that are still wondering what's actually being built out on Flare. Do I hold these tokens? Do I wrap these tokens? Do I delegate these tokens? Or should I just dump these tokens and get free money right now? Instead of, if you would have done an initial airdrop and just gotten all those Flare tokens out day one, we wouldn't have had to worry about this ongoing token inflation, which is an issue that we see with many other projects, but it's one that could have been avoided here in this case. So that was the initial plan. They changed it up. And now we have some early investors have actually agreed to extend their vesting. So here's the look at the 48-month token distribution schedule now. Originally 36 months, now it's 48 months. And this is going to take us all the way out till January of 2026 and maybe even beyond. Okay? So right here, recent news, 2.1 billion Flare is set to be permanently removed from circulation to support ecosystem health. So far, 464 million Flare have been burned. Early backers agreed to extended vesting, set sales limit, and reinvest in ecosystem projects. So that's good. It is nice to see, but once again, that is one of the key points that I do think is a problem for Flare, is this ongoing token inflation that's set to continue for quite some time. Now, wallets where you can get Flare, Ledger, Solidify, SafePal, Decent, Bitfrost, Trezor, Oxenflow, and MetaMask. So there is a lot of accessibility for Flare as far as exchanges and places to hold it. A distinction here between staking and delegation. Staking requires 50,000 Flare minimum and has a lockup period, but offers higher rewards. With FTSO delegation, there is no lockup, and you can do it alongside staking. Now, the other new feature that we have here is the liquid staking. So I'm going to show you right here the key benefits of liquid staking on Flare. There's no minimum staking requirements. Unlike traditional staking on Flare, which requires a minimum of 50,000 Flare, liquid staking protocols like Scepter allow staking any amount. Enhanced liquidity. Users can participate in DeFi without losing access to staking rewards or Flare airdrops. Compounding rewards. Protocols often automate reward claiming and reinvestment, potentially increasing returns over time. So basically what the liquid staking allows you to do is stake your Flare, continue receiving the airdrops, and then what you get in return is basically a liquid token that allows you to still use this token in DeFi ecosystem, DeFi protocols, while still holding that original Flare that you have staked. So liquid staking basically allows you to still have a token that you can go use in DeFi while your original Flare token is still delegated or staked, I guess, in this case. Not delegated, staked in this case. And continuing on, we see here some of the dexes for Flare. You got Blaze Swap, Spark Dex, Enos Dex, and Rain Dex. Okay, so there's about 4 dexes right here. Look like there's some more on the way. These dexes leverage Flare's native features such as the Flare Time Series Oracle, which provides decentralized price feeds, enabling accurate and secure trading without reliance on external oracles. EVM compatibility. Yep. So basically, Flare has full EVM compatibility, which is good. You don't have to write new contracts. You don't have to write new code. You can just copy paste Ethereum smart contracts essentially. And then you have the state connector, facilitates cross-chain data access, potentially expanding the range of assets tradable on Flare's DEX. So you got some good stuff there. The ecosystem it's a solid one, right? There's a lot that's being built out here. Like I said, I am not going to be able to cover half of what's taking place in the Flare ecosystem in this update. It's just not possible. I wanted to make something that's kind of condensed and consumable for people who are new to Flare or for people that want to get the update on Flare. Now, here's where the big update just came in with Flare 2.0. They've rolled out what's called protocol managed wallets. And what these wallets are wallets on the native blockchain. So for example, Bitcoin or XRP, where the XRP would be locked up on an XRP ledger address. And then what's called a trusted execution environment allows that asset to be used within the Flare ecosystem without having to leave the native layer 1 blockchain that they come from. So essentially, you have a wallet address on XRP where you would send your XRP to, and it would be stored on that wallet address on the XRP ledger, and it would not be bridged over. So basically, the big selling point here is that they are creating a bridgeless solution, a trustless solution for being able to get DeFi capabilities and bring your XRP or your Bitcoin or your Dogecoin assets over to the Flare ecosystem. This is one of the main features of this new rollout with Flare 2.0. The whole idea was bridging over assets to Flare. Now they've removed this. There isn't going to be any bridge. The way that they're doing this is the protocol managed wallets, PMWs, where the assets stay on the chain. They are locked up on that chain. And then basically trusted execution environments allow you to execute and use these assets on Flare. So I'm going to show you right here. The trusted execution environments are secure, isolated computing environments that execute sensitive operations such as signing transactions. They ensure that private keys and transaction logic remain confidential and tamper-proof. A consortium of Ts govern PMWs through a multi-sig scheme. Multiple Ts must agree and sign off on a transaction, mitigating risks like single points of failure or exploits in any one T. The Flare Consensus Protocol, transactions executed by PMWs, that's protocol managed wallets, are triggered by valid outputs from Flare's consensus mechanism. Validators on Flare confirm the legitimacy of a protocol's instructions and only then do the T's sign and execute the corresponding transaction on the external chain. Flare data protocols. You have the Flare data connector, securely retrieves data from external blockchains, ensuring that PMWs act based on accurate, decentralized information, like the state of assets on other chains. Then you have the Flare Time Series Oracle, which provides real-time data like asset prices, which can inform PMW actions in DeFi or other applications. And then you have the Flare State Protocol. This protocol underpins the coordination between Flare and external chains, ensuring that PMW actions align with the state of both networks. So, a PMW is an address on an external blockchain like Bitcoin address controlled by a Flare protocol. Its private keys are managed within a network of Ts, which are the trusted execution environments, not by any single entity or user. Triggering actions. So a decentralized application or protocol on Flare defines the logic for when and how the PMW should act. For example, send 1 Bitcoin to an address if a condition is met. Flare's validators process this logic and produce a valid output, which is cryptographically verified. Then, for the execution, the verified output is sent to the T consortium. If the conditions are met and the signatures from Flare's validators are valid, the T's sign the transaction using the PMW's private keys. The signed transaction is then broadcast to the external blockchain, like in this case, the Bitcoin network, and executed. all without requiring assets to leave their native chain or rely on centralized bridges. Now, this is where we've seen so many issues within our cryptocurrency space, right? All these bridges have been major failure points, points of failure, where you see hacks and lost funds. And so this bridgeless solution definitely is interesting. I love the fact that the assets never leave the chain, and you have this trusted execution environment that allows for multi-sig execution. It sounds really good. It sounds like a better solution than many of the other bridges that we see out there. Security and redundancy. The multi-sig T setup ensures that no single T can unilaterally control the wallet, reducing risks of outages or exploits. If one T fails or is compromised, others can still operate, maintaining functionality. Practical use cases. Cross-chain DeFi. A PMW could allow XRP holders to lend or borrow assets directly on the XRP ledger via a Flare dApp without moving XRP off its native chain. I like that. I like it a lot. Non-smart contract chains. So this would be, assets like Bitcoin or Dogecoin can participate in smart contract-based applications like yield farming by managing transactions on their behalf. Multi-chain applications. A single Flare protocol could coordinate actions across multiple chains, like swapping Bitcoin for ETH, using PMWs, enhancing interoperability. The advantages of this follow: no bridging required, decentralization, security, and flexibility. So I really like how this is being rolled out. I really like how this is being done. And once again, there's more to this update, and key parts of it are also Flare. Basically, the key parts of this update to Flare 2.0 was this protocol managed wallets, and then the second part of it was F assets. Now, the key utilities for Flare, as I mentioned, is basically providing utility and interoperability for data, and then providing smart contract functionality for non-smart contract blockchains and assets like XRP, Bitcoin, Doge. Those are the main use cases of Flare. And so now I'm going to transition into talking about F assets. And this is probably my biggest frustration with Flare: the fact that F assets are not live. And the reason why this is such a big frustration of mine and a matter of concern for me is because blockchains like the XRP ledger are getting native programmability and smart contracts and smart escrow features to the XRP ledger later this year. So I worry that the window of opportunity and the ability to really build a moat around Flare as the trusted DeFi protocol for XRP, Dogecoin, and Bitcoin. I don't know of any updates to Dogecoin getting smart contracts, but I do know the XRP ledger ecosystem very well, and we are definitely on the way to getting smart contract programmability and functionality brought to our layer 1. And I worry about this for Flare. I worry about this for other smart contract blockchains that have been built around XRP ledger. I'm not going to list all of them off, but it's a concern that I have for all of them, not just Flare, is that this window of opportunity is closing. If F assets had been delivered back in 23, 24, you would have had a couple years, right? 2 or 3 years to gather a user base, to gather assets that would have been parked, locked up, and then brought over, however they were going to be bridged, right? And they would have been brought over to the Flare ecosystem, and they would be being used right now. And you would have a user base, you would have a significant amount of assets over here, and you would be less likely to lose these assets, to lose these users when XRP ledger programmability came along, because folks would already have their XRP in DeFi ecosystems on Flare that would already be churning out a yield. They'd already be put to work. And so this window of opportunity is closing quickly. And this brings me to my update on Flare F assets and the fact that they're just not ready yet, and they're still being tested. It's one of my biggest frustrations with this project right now. Now, on the Flare Labs X profile, they still have a pinned tweet from November of 2023 talking about kicking off the private beta for F assets on the cost and testnet. Now, I don't know why. On Flare Labs, this is the company that Hugo created, right? This is comparable to Ripple, right? You got XRP Ledger, you got XRP, and you got Ripple, the company, separate from the XRP Ledger. In the similar fashion, you got Flare, the Flare token, and then you got Flare Labs, which Hugo created. by the way, one of the other problems that I have is that this is not a US-based company. They're not based out of anywhere. They're just decentralized, I guess, even though Hugo's moved to Dubai. I don't know where this entity is located, but they're not US-based. That's another problem that I have. But, I mean, to me, this is just kind of embarrassing at this point that their pinned tweet is from November of 23, talking about F assets going live on the beta. Fast forward here to March, almost April of 2025, and F assets are still not live. I don't know what's going on here, okay? But furthermore, this was an update that was put out here by Tina. Tina Connects on X, and she shared this post back in January of 2024. She says she spent all day at my screen, but I did it. New blog out. Unveiling Flare's 2024 roadmap and delving into the partnership of Flare and Google Cloud, which that is one legitimate partner that they do have. Google Cloud is running a validator on the Flare network. So that's good. That's cool. That's great. Okay. But she gets the update here from Hugo and the team exploring Flare's roadmap for 2024 with insights from CEO Hugo Filion. Okay. And, oh, well, that doesn't show you here. This is what I wanted to show you right here. This shows you, right? Hugo's been hinting at some very exciting things over the next few months. Based on the latest interviews with him, here are the key highlights. The objective in 2024 is to roll out all protocols, including F assets, Layer Cake, FTSO V2, State, Web Connector, and Relayer. So once again, it's not me that was, just expecting F assets to be rolled out a couple years ago based off of nothing. This was a clear roadmap, right? They were rolling out the beta at the end of 2023. And then clearly laid out right here from Hugo and Flare is that the roadmap was to roll out F assets in 2024. Here we are in 2025, and we're still a ways away from what I can tell. Here's the update. F assets V1.1 was introduced by Flare Labs as a crucial intermediary step between V1 and V2 in order to enhance liquidity, efficiency, and accelerate market adoption ahead of the full transition to V2. Now, what comes in this update? Unlimited minting of XRP, increasing its availability on Flare, capital efficiency, making the system more efficient and viable for broader adoption, faster deployment since V1.1 retains most of the V1 code base. This is not a significant update from what I can tell from Hugo himself. Currently, we are working on assembling parties to decentralize the core vault, which apparently the core vault isn't even going to be used, or it is going to be used. I don't know what the difference is between the core vault and the protocol managed wallets. I don't know what the difference is there. So I'm seeing conflicting things, that the core vault's going away, it's being replaced by protocol managed wallets. I don't know. But this is what Hugo's working on right now. Finalizing the code changes to include the core vault by Friday. So, I mean, this tweet was put out just a couple days ago, so maybe the core vault is going to stick around. Okay? But then audits for updated code base starts Monday, March 31st. So we are still in the testing phase of F assets. People have asked me what happens after the audits. Assuming the audits come back without any issues, we will launch XRP V1.1 on Songbird with an Immunify bug bounty program. I will keep you updated. So after this audit for V1.1 concludes, then they're rolling it out on Songbird for more testing and another bug bounty program before we get to F Assets V2 and before we get F Assets going live. Nobody knows. There is no time. They haven't even given us a window of time from what I've seen on when F Assets go live. Concretely, the second that XRP V1.1 lands on Flare XRP, we will have Uni V3 dexes via SparkDex and Enosis, Uni V2, and I'm assuming that's Uniswap version 2 dexes via BlazeSwap, lending and looped lending via Kinetic, usage as perps collateral via SparkDex perps, access to RWA yield via Clearpool, advanced trading strategies via Raindex, AI agents via Flare AI Kit. When XRP staking lands on Flare, XRP will have access to liquid staking and restaking. The world will be your oyster. When, though? Right? This is the question we're all asking. This sounds great, and I don't even know what half that stuff means on what he's laid out there. And that's all great. Sounds like we'll get some utility, but when is it going to arrive? If we don't get F assets live before XRP Ledger gets native smart contract functionality, why is anybody going to be coming over to Flare? And this is a question that I have for not just Flare, but other smart contract ecosystems and blockchains that have been built around the XRP Ledger, is without the XRP community bridging over and coming over, will you be able to build out enough of an ecosystem and community to stand on your own? It's a serious question that I have. Can these blockchains, can these ecosystems stand on their own without the XRP community? I understand that the XRP community is not the end all be all. And, we shouldn't just be rolling out the red carpet for the XRP community because we're the greatest community ever, even though I do believe we are. You guys know my biases. But even acknowledging that, I'm just saying, when we have smart contract functionality, why are we going to be bridging over to Flare? Why are we going to be bridging over to Corium? Why are we going to be bridging over to Zahao and all these other smart contract networks that built around the XRP Ledger? Why would we be doing so when we have native smart contract functionality coming? It's one of the biggest concerns that I have for Flare. Now, the main utility is data, oracles, price feeds, and the interoperability for that data. The second big utility is the F assets, bringing smart contract functionality to assets that don't have smart contracts. It's a great utility, but we gotta deliver now. And one of the biggest things here that I think has been missed is not delivering the F assets sooner. It looks to me, from the outside looking in, that the Flare team has been working on a lot, that Hugo has this big vision. But I think that they should have prioritized F assets, and they should have done whatever it took to get F assets live as soon as possible. I think that it is going to be one of the biggest failures of Flare not getting F assets live by the end of 2023. And by 2024, it should have been done. At the last, it should have been done in 2024. The fact that we're here in March of 2025, and basically we still don't have a time frame other than we have audits to conduct. We got bug bounty programs that are going to be launched. We're going to be doing more testing, and we have no definitive roadmap. I think as a leader, Hugo should step up and say, hey, our goal is to deliver F assets by the end of Q2 2025. Set the direction for the team and say, hey guys, this is the goal. Let the community know this is the goal. And I'd rather have you give us this goal and this timeline and not be able to execute, but be able to report back and tell me that you put everything into it to make it go live by that date. The fact that we still don't know, we have no idea, and we see this window of opportunity closing, I am very concerned about Flare, to be honest with you guys. Very concerned. Since we're on it, since I'm a little bit fired up, let's talk about the other things that I'm concerned about with Flare. And some of these I already mentioned. The token inflation. They should have dropped it all at once. It was a mistake to drag this out. Shouldn't have been done. Should have dropped it all at once, and they should have given it all to the XRP community. Whatever it took. The exchanges want more money, pay it up. The exchanges aren't working, figure out why. It should have been done. Whatever it takes. This is the only alternative is failure. By not getting these things done, failure is the other option. I'm just speaking my opinion. You guys let me know in the comments down below if you think I'm off base here. Token inflation problem number one. Lack of delivery. As I've outlined here, F assets, where are they? Other functions and capabilities, other products that they've talked about, they need to be delivered. Not US based. Hugo's in Dubai. Flare Labs is decentralized. I don't know where the entity's located at, but it's not in the US. That's a knock. right? We cannot check off that it's a US-based crypto. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Because you know how bullish I am on utility-based cryptos that are based in America. We got no capital gains tax. We got some other things going on. That's a knock against Flare. XRP Ledger smart contracts are on the way. I already laid this out. You guys know that. That window of opportunity is closing. And I think it very well could already be lost. Because it's a race right now. Is XRP Ledger smart contracts going to go live before F assets do? I mean, we're closing up on that opportunity. Simplified marketing. Okay. The reason why I put this here is because I've spent 4 or 5 hours today researching Flare through their websites, through Twitter profiles, going through everything. And they got some people that are putting out some decent content. I don't want to say that there's not a marketing strategy. I don't want to say that it's like a complete failure. It's just, I think that the utilities and the functions that Flare is working on, it needs to be simplified and dumbed down. Because if I can't understand it, because I'm a dummy. Everybody knows that, right? You guys all know I don't claim to be a techie. I don't like sitting here at my computer desk. In fact, part of the reason why I get so kind of riled up on some of these deep dives is because I spend 5-6 hours researching these projects and I end up frustrated at the whole end of the process. One, because I don't like sitting at my desk, and two, I don't like what I find when I look at these projects. So they need simplified marketing. They need better marketing. They need somebody who can dumb this down for them. Somebody like I'm not up for hire. They cannot hire me, but they need somebody like me that does what I do, that dumbs this stuff down, simplifies this stuff down, because people aren't going to invest if they don't understand what's going on here. And to me, it's not because what they're working on is not great. No, what they're working on is great. The utility there is awesome. As long as it can get delivered, it'll be great. But they need to be able to simplify it down so that the regular person can kind of understand what they're investing in. I think that they could improve on their marketing tremendously. One, they need more, and two, they need it simplified. I've listened to Hugo. I've listened to his interviews. They need somebody who can present this better. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. And then oracles to other chains. Hugo says that it's not something that they're interested in, which is providing oracles, price feeds, data to other blockchains, which I don't understand why not. Chainlink has built this really a moat around them. I mean, they're the number one oracle and data feed to so many blockchains. Ethereum, Polygon. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Chainlink is basically partnered up with everybody in this space. And, that's bringing utility to Link. That's bringing, users back to their ecosystem. And I just don't know why Hugo would not want to go after that use case of providing oracles and price feeds to other blockchains. There's an amendment in the pipeline right now for XRP oracles, and it would basically bring oracles on chain. But one of the things that could be done would be providing and bringing the Flare price oracles and the Flare data feeds to the XRP ledger. But Hugo, from his comments that I've heard recently, he says that they're not interested in providing this. Now, that wouldn't stop somebody else from using Flare oracles to bring it back to the XRP ledger, but I don't get why that's not one of the things that they're targeting. Maybe there's a good reason why, and maybe somebody can explain this to me in the comments down below on why they wouldn't want to be providing oracles to other blockchains. As interoperability and data utility, it just seems like we're missing so much market share by not going after some of these other blockchains, right? It's like they're trying to bring everything to the Flare layer 1. And I think that the way that you could do so is by reaching out, extending out, providing value to these other blockchains by providing oracles. I think that it's a missed opportunity. But, those are the rundown of the main concerns that I have for Flare is the token inflation, lack of delivery on the products that they're talking about, not being US based, XRP Ledger smart contracts are on the way, simplify the marketing, and we need more marketing. And then oracles to other chains. I don't understand why that's not one of the utilities that they're focused on. But those are my frustrations. Now I'm going to read through a post put together here by somebody on X who I thought summarized what Flare is doing pretty well, definitely has a bullish outlook on this, and it's a really good rundown of what they got cooking. And if they can deliver on this sooner rather than later, hopefully, I think that Flare does have a good outlook. Despite my frustrations, I still am bullish on Flare. And after I read through this thread, I'm going to give you my price predictions on Flare for this bull run. So this is put together by CryptoWarm226. Okay. Flare Networks really is building what you could call a finance Lego city, a modular, composable, and trustless system where XRP, Bitcoin, and other non-smart contract assets can plug directly into the DeFi universe without bridges or middlemen. Here's a detailed breakdown of what this means and how it plays out. Flare equals the big finance kit for XRP, Bitcoin, and more. Here's how it actually works. Built-in EVM. Flare has its own EVM layer, meaning developers can build with the same tools used on Ethereum, but with added capabilities like cross-chain interoperability and native data access. And to bring this back once again, not only is the XRP ledger getting smart contract functionalities brought to the layer 1, you also have the EVM sidechain that's been created. So the ability for XRP, ecosystem to tap into EVM smart contracts is already coming without Flare. So we gotta get delivery of these F assets soon. Has to happen. You can deploy DeFi apps, stablecoin vaults, staking platforms, and real-world use cases without rewriting code and use FXRP or FBitcoin as native assets. Enshrined oracles, the FTSOs. The Flare time series oracles is built into the network. And this is offering real-time decentralized price feeds, off-chain data access, weather, sports, inflation, anything that you can imagine, right? All of this off-chain data gets brought back on-chain. No need to rely on Chainlink or external oracles. Why does this matter? You can create dynamic smart contracts to respond to real-world events, pricing, voting, taxes, event disaster relief. Many use cases for that. Decentralized data tools. Flare's vision is to be the smart data layer for the blockchain world. Data is treated like infrastructure available on-chain, verified, and decentralized. Why does it matter? Other chains just move tokens. Flare moves verified data, powering insurance, health apps, AI-driven DeFi, ESG scoring, and more. Protocol managed wallets. Think of these as smart wallets with logic baked in, like programmable piggy banks that can auto-split payments. For example, 5% tax, 2.5% state, 2.5% Fed. Auto-split payments. Only unlock funds for specific purposes. School, food, child credit. Just giving out some examples there, right? Be KYC approved or globally verified via red date identity. Why does it matter? You can build national payment systems, social security or social safety nets, and tax-free UBI, all on-chain with no fraud and no red tape. 5. Bridged assets with no issuer trust. And these are the F assets. All right, and now we know that there are no bridges, right? Without a centralized custodian, the protocol managed wallets will keep the assets on their native chain. No trusted bridges, no wrapped token scams, mint and redeem back one-to-one with decentralization guarantees. Why does this matter? You can now use Bitcoin or XRP and DeFi just like Ethereum, earn yield, stake, lend, borrow, and then redeem at any time. Off-chain compute. This is in development, but Flare plans to enable off-chain compute environments, meaning that smart contracts can request complex calculations. Flare nodes can process logic too heavy for on-chain execution. Why does it matter? Imagine machine learning, simulations, or big AI plus DeFi services triggered from a smart contract without jacking up gas costs. Composability, everything stacks. Just like Lego bricks, RLUSD can power UBI or taxes, F assets can plug into vaults and lending, PMWs can be used for state programs, FTSO feeds all of it live economic data, everything's secured by Flare or staked F assets. What's the big picture? This isn't just DeFi, it's a platform to build financial systems for countries, smart public services, decentralized AI governance, a modular financial universe powered by real assets, real data, and smart contracts anyone can use. Why this matters now. Flare isn't just adding features, it's replacing middlemen, reducing trust assumptions, and giving power back to the users. Other chains bridge in assets, Flare bridges in the world. Okay. So I wanted to provide, kind of a more bullish outlook on Flare. And I mean, I'm bullish too, if they can deliver. And if they can deliver sooner rather than later. Right? The sooner that they can deliver this, the more bullish I'm going to be. I'm a little bullish on Flare right now, despite all my frustrations. I'm still bullish, but I would be a lot more bullish if we could get this stuff rolled out this year. And I will say this, just a side point. This has nothing to do with Flare. I mean, it relates, but generally speaking, I don't know what takes these developers so long, right? I'm not a developer myself, so it would be inappropriate for me to comment, but I listen to these developers and I listen to some of these companies and they say, oh yeah, we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars per month on developers, and yet, they haven't produced a product that's actually usable. And I wonder, what the heck? Where's all this money? What are all these developers being used for? And so I'm not speaking so much directly to Flare, but it's just something that I notice with developers is you ask them, hey, when are these things going to be built out? And, it's hard to get a definitive answer. It's hard to get a definitive timeline. And to me, we should at least lay out a goal, right, on F assets, on some of these other products that they want to roll out. Just give me a date and give me a commitment that you and the team are working and doing everything possible to get this delivered by that date. If you fall short, I'm not going to call you a failure. I'm going to appreciate the effort that you put in and acknowledge what you were able to achieve in that timeline, and then give us the update. Okay, it's going to take us another month. But the fact that, in my opinion, we should have had F assets in 2024 at the latest, and we don't. And then here we are in March of 2025, and we're still in testnet. We're still playing around, and we still don't have a definitive timeline. It's why I'm just a little bit frustrated and just concerned for my portfolio holding Flare and for others that are holding Flare. But despite all this, I still think the number goes higher. Okay. Let me take a sip of my beverage here. I'm sipping on a Poppy right now, okay? Holding Flare, though, and talking about Flare does make me want to get into an adult beverage. I will say that much. I got me a nice Poppy, though. I do think that the number goes up. I do think that the number could go up by a lot more if we get some delivery, but I do think that the number is going up. So, as a reminder, I disregard everything with the IOU phase, right? So basically, disregard Bitrue is a great example. On the Bitrue chart, which I'm about to show you, you can go past 2023, back when they had the IOUs, and that's when Flare was trading at much larger numbers. You guys let me know in the comments down below what the Flare IOUs traded for at one point in time, because it was a lot, right? But I disregard that completely, right? I only consider Flare price after it went live on mainnet, which was January 9th, 2023. And that's basically when it hit an all-time high. That was the all-time high of Flare, which was about 7, 8, almost 9 cents, I think. And I think that Flare is heading to about the same level this bull run, okay? So here's my Flare chart. And what you're going to see is that Flare did go up in March of 2024 up to that 8 cent level. So it basically almost went back up into an all-time high, got very close. Okay. Came back down here during 2024 after that run and went all the way down here to just above 1 cent, right? 1.2. And then we just went down to 1.3.5. And a big correction here. It looks to me like a very typical ABC correction on Flare after the election pump, which was only 200% for Flare. Let me clear up. There's a lot going on here on this chart, so I want to clear it up for you guys. But basically, yeah, you had a 218% election pump. So a decent pump. We've seen bigger ones on, some of these other assets that we hold, but nonetheless, a nice 200% move. It did not set a double top. It basically ran up and then lost that momentum and continued back down. Unlike some other assets that went and set a double top in January, Flare did not. So Flare did lose its momentum, and we see an ABC correction right here. Okay. Now I've pulled a fib, and what I see is that, on the correction, when we extend back up here, you have the 2618 fib that takes us up here to about 8 cents. And then I got the 3618, which takes us up to about 10.5 cents. Now, interesting enough, this level that we went up to back in March of 2024 is the same level where my 2618 fib sits at. Now, something that I wanted to point out to you guys, though, is Flare did not go up to 7 cents on all of the exchanges last year. If I slide on over here to the Coinbase exchange, what you will notice is that back in February, March of 2024, it only went up to 5.5 cents on Coinbase. And then it only went up to, 5.5 cents back in February. And then in April, looks like April, March right here, it went up to about 5 cents. So on Coinbase, the high that Flare has traded at on Coinbase is actually only about 5.5 cents. You see, it hasn't, it came onto Coinbase back in April of 2023, a few months after it went live on mainnet. And the highest it's ever traded at is 5.5 cents on this platform. Now, why am I mentioning that? Because you have folks that are looking at the chart on their specific platform. So most people are going to be buying Flare on Uphold, on Coinbase. I have those linked up down below if you need to use those platforms. And that's what they're going to be looking at. They're going to say, well, the all-time high on this platform is 5 cents. And so I do expect big resistance to come in at the 5 cent level on Flare because of this reason, and because 5 cents is a big psychological number as well. So I do expect some resistance to come in at that level. And on my Coinbase chart right here, I've pulled this fib, and it basically tells me the same thing on this extension back up here. It is, the 2618 on this chart is at 7.7, just shy of 8 cents. And the full 4.236 takes us up to 11, almost 12 cents. I go back over to BitTrue, and I basically have the same levels on this chart with the 2618 taking us up to 8 cents, the 3618 taking us up to 10.5, and a full 4.236 extension would take us up to about 12 cents for Flare. I do not expect Flare to break above 12 cents this bull run, okay? And for me, my sweet spot that I'm looking to take profit at is between that 2618 and that 3618. Those are the levels that I am looking to take profit at, and that would be 8 cents to 10 cents. And honestly, if this coin does stretch all the way up to about 10 cents, I will have exited my bag completely on this coin. Full disclosure, okay? So the way that I position myself on these assets is, and I've been looking at all of these altcoins. Where can I find a 3x to a 5x, right? Those are the types of returns that I'm looking for. And on Flare, you have that potential right now. Okay, I'll make this measurement right here. If you buy in on Flare today, and it does extend up to these levels that I'm talking about, you're looking at 460% up to 600%, up to, if we do the full extension, 700%. These are the opportunities that I've been looking for this bull run. Where can I get a conservative 4 to 5x, maybe a 10 bagger, if it just goes back to its previous all-time high, right? This is not Flare going and setting a new all-time high. The all-time high is about 8 cents. And so this would be just breaking above that previous all-time high, which I think is very conservative. Some folks in the comments are probably going to tell me that that's not bullish enough, that Flare's going up to much higher prices. That's fine. Until I see these products delivered, until I see more from the Flare team as far as delivering these products, boosting their marketing, they got to get the word out. They got good accessibility. They're on many of the exchanges right now. And so they have good access to their platform. But the longer that we wait to deliver these products, the more bearish I get and the lower my sell targets get on this token. I'm going to be looking to take my first sell orders are probably going to be right at about 5 cents. I'm probably going to shave some off, and then I will be completely gone as it approaches 10 cents. That's what I'm doing with my Flare. Right now, I am not delegating or staking any of my Flare. I have not taken advantage of that, and I've missed out on that. But the problem is, and I've talked about this with many other DeFi programs and blockchains like this, is that you can be earning all these rewards. I asked people the other day, where are you staking your Flare and how much are you making? And I got a wide range of people reporting back that they were making, 4 or 5%. Some folks were making, 20, 30%. But the problem with this is if the underlying asset continues to drop in value, doesn't really matter how much you're making back in rewards if the underlying asset continues to be debased, which is one of the points that I brought up, is the token inflation on Flare is working against it. You have a lot of people that are going to be getting airdrop tokens who don't really care to be involved. Well, I guess that's why they changed who the airdrops go to, right? The people who are getting the airdrops going forward are the people that are, wrapping their Flare. And so it's people that actually want to be in this ecosystem and want to participate in this ecosystem. But I think that you got a lot of people in the XRP community that have been waiting to use Flare, and they're growing frustrated, myself included, with not being able to get that DeFi, not being able to get that yield that we've been so anxious for over on Flare. You've already seen a bunch of DeFi programs are popping up on the XRP ledger already. I mean, now we have our AMM. You can go make money on the AMM, providing liquidity over there. And so I just think that the window of opportunity is closing up for Flare. And the longer that this takes, the more bearish I get on this asset. I still think that number is going to go up. I think that you're going to have an opportunity to at least see. My base case for Flare is this thing's going to run back up to 5 cents. Okay? 5 cents to 6 cents. I think that we're on our way there. That's my base case for Flare on where we're going to. The more bullish side, I think that we do a full extension and you're looking at it basically a 10 to 12 cent Flare. I don't expect it to go higher than that this bull run. I'd be happy to be wrong. And I'll probably miss out on that top because, like I said, full disclosure, I let you guys know how I'm moving on these coins. I'll be gone by 10 cents. So that's how I'm positioned in Flare. I would love, and to anybody listen to me, yeah, I'm just bringing up questions. I'm bringing up concerns. I can't wait to be able to follow up and say, wow, I should have chilled out. I should have calmed down because Hugo and the team has delivered. It's better than we expected. We can earn a bunch of yield, and this is amazing. I would love to be able to say that I was wrong. I should have chilled out. I should have relaxed. I should have been patient because the patience has paid off, and Flare's rolled out F assets. Flare's rolled out all these other products, and it's the best thing ever. I would love to be able to report on that. And I hope I genuinely am saying that. When I bring up my concerns, and I no longer call them red flags because that offends some people. So I no longer call them red flags. I try to be nice and I just call them concerns. And I like to say that I love to be able to follow up. I want you guys to make money on Flare. I want to make money on Flare. But I think that we have to be realistic in our critique of Flare, and we have to know what we need to watch out for going forward. So you guys let me know in the comments down below. There's a lot that I wasn't able to cover in this update. I mean, this update's nearly gone an hour long, and my apologies if I ran it for too long, but I was just covering some of the main points here in this update. There's more to talk about, and maybe I'll provide an updated deep dive as well. It'll be the Flare Deep Dive Part 2, where I go into the staking and the delegating and some of the other technical capabilities of the blockchain and some other things like that. But to me, the simple problems, the simple solutions, and the big problems and solutions are what always have attracted me to these digital assets. And so, I always compare these assets to XRP, solving simple solutions, cross-border payments, friction within payments. And it's a massive problem. It's a problem that's valued in the trillions of dollars on a daily basis. Now, data is a big utility, and it's a big problem. If Flare can deliver, and I really would encourage Flare to lean back into this relationship with the XRP community. The XRP community has a lot of money. And I'm not talking about because XRP is going to 10,000. The XRP community already had money before XRP. And we're going to have some more too. But lean back into this relationship with XRP. I think that you got to, because you got to get folks sold on the idea of coming over to your DeFi and over to your chain before we have smart contract functionality on our own chain, before we have all these other DeFi programs on the XRP ledger. And Flare's already competing with Corium, Zahao, and all these other smart contracts that have been built around the XRP ledger. So those are my concerns, my critiques, why I'm still bullish, why I still think that the number does go up, and it will follow along closely with XRP. There still is some correlation between Flare and XRP. And so I do think that the number goes up. And I remain patiently optimistic that I'm going to be able to update you guys later this year on F assets and some of the other products and services that are available through Flare. So you guys let me know in the comments down below what I missed, what I need to cover in the Flare Part 2 deep dive. Let me know which crypto you want me to cover next. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly. And I hope you guys appreciate these deep dives. I try to put a lot into them and try to stay conservative with my price predictions. I know everybody wants to hear that their assets are going to the moon, and I wish that they were, but I think that I just try to provide a level-headed, optimistic view while also presenting some of the concerns and the things that I think we need to follow up on. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this one up. This will be added to my 2025 coin review playlist. If you want to see some of our other deep dives that we've done, go to that playlist, check them out, and we got some more on the way for you. If you appreciate it, make sure you're liking this video. Help me out by sharing it out far and wide, and we will see you guys in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.